When she's not busy being Busby Berkeley, Bob Fosse, and Twyla Tharp all rolled into one, Jessica Redish is putting together some of the best comedy shorts that you will ever lay your eyeballs on. And we're pleased to have the filmmaker slash choreographer slash director slash writer slash sous chef join us here on the show. How you doing, Jessica?
I'm great now after that introduction. Thank you. I really can't top that. Thank you.
Well, the latest comedy short is Airway. Good stuff. But before we get into that, I do want to point out to people that comedy shorts have been part of American cinema for decades and beyond. It's really been a staple. I mean, back when the only way you could see a moving picture was to go to a theater, comedy shorts were a big staple. And then things transitioned, and now we're into the internet. But comedy shorts, as an art form, have been a great part of American entertainment culture, right?
Absolutely. And Shakespeare says brevity is the soul of all wit. So I just do what he tells me,
You and Shakespeare have been hanging out a lot. I get this feeling.
We've been rolling. I've had a lot of time in quarantine. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. And folks, be looking for Redish and the Bard coming to a going to a screen near you. Now, Airway is what we're going to talk about because while in the past you have been lauded for your work, this puppy has been just gaining traction since eyeballs have come upon it. And, we're talking the virtual festivals, this, that, and the other thing, but just another marvelous get inside your head piece of comedy.
Thank you. Yes, it's about a woman who envisions a man sitting next to her. A man is sitting next to her on the plane, and he won't turn his phone to airplane mode, and she envisions the worst. And the best compliment I can get is people watch it and they say, "Oh, that's just like me," And I think it's inside all of us, potential doomsday thinking, and I think it seems to resonate. So I appreciate that.
But finding the comedy in doomsday thinking takes a little bit of work. Very, very easy to do the doomsday evil stuff because who hasn't been in a situation where, and I will tell you honestly, just had a friend of mine who is retelling a story of being in the quiet car on a New York City subway, the quiet car. And he forgot to turn down the sound thing. It's not that he wasn't intentional. And it's just two people on the quiet car, himself and another gentleman. And so his phone went bleepity, bleepity, bleep. And you would have thought that the other passenger was going to summon armies, National Guards, the whole bit. The guy just went absolutely ballistic on him. So I'm sitting there watching Airway and saying, it could have been very easy for her not to find the humor in this thing.
Right. No, and just back to the New Yorker on the train, finding quiet in New York is a real thing. So I got to empathize with the complaint. But, yeah, they tell us, turn your phone to airplane mode and I guess it interrupts, my understanding, it interrupts communication with the tower, I guess, as you're taking off. But there's always someone doing it. So then you kind of go, is it everybody? And then, I was flying, back and forth a lot last fall between LA and Washington D.C. And I was choreographing a show in D.C. and I was choreographing commercials out here in LA where I live. And it happened a lot. And so I would actually think about like what would happen if this plane did go down. And I don't know if I should admit this, but that's what's in the movie. So I actually came to comedy through writing kind of what I thought was a serious play. I was developing it up at a theater in Maine, and I thought I was saying these like serious ideas, and everyone just started cracking up. So that's actually my way in.
The inner thought coming out as it does, because I can remember The Last Croissant, another comedy short of
Thank
yours,
you.
and I'm sitting there going, it's people do have these thoughts that turn into theater, and so finally we're seeing it on screen, and I must say that Jenna Rossman appears to be your muse for conveying the message.
Oh yes, she's my De Niro. No, she's my ride or die. And so we met. I was actually working in D.C. There was an opportunity for female filmmakers out in L.A. and Last Croissant was my first narrative short. I had been directing music videos prior to then, and I had this idea for many years, just having stood in line at many a Starbucks, and you know how it is. And so a colleague out here in LA said, just do it, just do it, just go for it, and I did. And I actually met my director of photography, who was my one-man crew for that, on an airplane, flying back and forth between LA and DC. He was DC based and he was gigging in LA, and we just started chatting. And then I said, I've always had this short in my head. Bless, he had all the equipment. He said, let's go. I got this great location, and we did it. And we shot 2 days later, and we gathered this amazing cast from the show I was working on. Drew Copas, he's the poor gentleman who takes one for the team. In the Last Croissant, he actually brought all those amazing women to the fore. I hadn't met them in person. I hadn't met Jenna in person, and it was just magic on set. And we shot it for 2 hours, from 11:30 to 1:30 in the morning at Tacoma Beverage Company in Tacoma Park, Maryland. Got to give them a shout out. And it has been my greatest hit to this point. It got featured on Funny or Die. They likened me to Martin Scorsese, which was so wild, and then played the shiny new director's screening in the UK last December, and for it I won Best Director at the Atlanta Comedy Film Festival. So it was kismet to have made it with such an amazing cast and crew, and it's really taken me pretty far, and some folks in Hollywood were kind of noticing it and saying, what else do you have? So that inspired me to shoot Airway in February of last year. And I flew Jenna out. I said, you're the gal for this. You're the muse. So she came out. It was great. And we had a cast and crew of around 50. We shot in 6 hours on an airplane set, and it was a great team. 98% female crew. Really, really exciting, and really grateful to everyone who's a part of it. So.
Well, it all marvelous stuff. And to The Last Croissant, the last thing I'll say is, folks, if you haven't seen it, you got to you could go to Jessica's website and check it out, because I just think it's one of the funniest things I've seen, only because I've been there. And not in exactly the same way, but you can identify. And I dare to find anyone who has not gone somewhere like somewhere Starbucksian or a bagel place, because I can remember being caught several times online, seeing them bring out the fresh bagels, okay? And I'll get a fresh hot sesame seed bagel, and but what do? They slide it in the slot, then they take the older sesame seed bagels and they pour them on top. So there's no way you're going to get a fresh hot one. You're going to get an old one. and suddenly you're deflated. You know,
I know.
So who hasn't gone through this stuff yet? You find a way to make it funny instead of heartbreaking.
Thank you. Thank you. we gotta find that or we'll sink, right? No, I mean we are animals. We are animals at the end of the day, you know. And I just thought, you know, what would happen if we acted on our instincts? You know, God bless. We don't, thank God. But you know, there's a French word called l'appel du vide, like the call of the void, or you know, and what might happen in the void. I might have bastardized that translation, but that's the idea. Like, what could happen in the void, in the absence of action, and how would we fill it? You know, and just letting our minds go there. You know, and you know, that's the feedback I'm getting. They go, that's been me. You know, you called it. That's me. And because it is like we go to a store and we want what we want. You know, and it's on a visceral level. So.
Oh yeah. And so I am grateful to you. So what exactly is next for Airway?
So Airway is currently being submitted to festivals, and so I'm kind of moving it on to that circuit. My hope is that this gets serialized. So I've created a project called The Misadventures of Jenna, where she just, you know, she'll think something's wrong, but it's actually okay. So I'm hoping an online platform will pick it up, and we would expand her story a little bit. And so that's my goal, is that it's part of a greater whole.
Wow. And who could go more Redish, more Rossman. That's what I say. You know.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I can't wait to get back on set. I really look forward to it. So
and one last quickie thing I want to bring up, because you did mention you have done work on music videos, and I want to point out to people that in that realm you've worked with some pretty impressive people. Not your one-hit wonder fly-by-night schnitzels. You've worked with some nifty people along the way, between directing, choreography, etc.
Yes, I had an incredible experience working with Billy Corgan of the Smashing Pumpkins. I contributed choreography to his tour that went around the world a couple of years ago, and it was a total blast. Just an amazing project to be a part of. And totally wild to receive, messages in my Instagram from people all over the world, just saying, your work moved me, made me cry, and, just really a wonderful thing to be a part of. So yeah, I do have these two lanes I work in. I'm really expanding my creative repertoire, and I'm still a working choreographer when there's not a global pandemic, and I love it, and I'm also doing these projects as a writer-director, and I really want people to think of me like that. So I'm really, I'm working these two lanes, and I'm loving it. I'm evolving as an artist, and it's been this like mild challenge to kind of go like, I just wanted to make sure that it comes across not as like being scattered, just because I have more than one interest. But I feel like I do both equally well, and I'm really looking forward to both being a part of my life and back in the studio dancing with people, and also on set, making comedy. So,
ladies and gentlemen, Jessica Tulane Redish. You can find out more about her at Jessica Redish. It's REDISH.com, JessicaRedish.com. And I advise you, when you need a little pick-me-up and you need to release some, go to the website, check out The Last Croissant. Make sure you get a hold of Airway any way you can. And remember the name, Jessica Redish, because it is now burnt deeply. I mean, not physically burnt. I hope you don't mind, Jessica, but you know what I'm talking about. It's there. It's embedded in my skull, and I shall always remember. And boy, what a treat and a pleasure to chat with you.
Thank you. It has been a pleasure, and now all I'm thinking about is schnitzel.
Stay safe and stay well, young lady.
You too.